Okay. Hello. Editor's note from the future. Just so you know, you don't have to watch this video part by part. This is a long video. I'm willing to call this a video essay. Use the timestamps. Just use the timestamps. I feel like usually timestamps have to be like built off of each other, but I think every single section of this video stands well on its own. So, for example, if you don't really care about Wandance the manga, you should, because I spent a lot of time editing it. But if you don't, then you can just skip to the section where like I talk about the dance producer that they're bringing in, or I talk about the potential virality that the show might have. You don't have to watch the full thing. And I know I'm making you work, and you know, you don't want to have to move your index finger to tap the timestamp, but trust me, you use the timestamps, you watch whatever you want to watch, and then you go back to your very important TikToks, right? You just like keep going back to your little doom scroll, and we'll be set. That's it. We're done. Also, this is my first YouTube video. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm looking into the camera. Hello everyone, my name is Michael. Welcome back to Trying is Cool, and you should try Wandance. It's the story of a shy high schooler with a stuttering problem who's always trying to keep quiet and avoid bringing attention to himself until he sees one of his classmates dancing in public. He's just enamored by how she's able to express herself completely and freely without words, so taken aback by her, he joins the school's dance club. There's elements of romance, a little bit of drama, a lot of themes of self-improvement, and just like a really heartwarming story of what it means to feel again. Artistically, it's full of charged, vivid gesture drawings, and if you're a freestyler like me, you're going to love all the different styles that the mangaka pulls in here. At the time of putting out this video, they currently have 11 volumes, and Studio Madhouse, like that Madhouse, has announced an anime adaptation. Timestamps below. Okay, let's get some like real hip hop in here. It's like no, I don't want this. I don't want this. Wandance at its core is a manga that's entirely about truly and freely expressing yourself through dance. Our MC's name is Kaboku Kotani, our amateur MASH cosplayer, and a first year in high school who's quickly revealed to have a pretty bad stutter, and as such, he's not really great with his words. This stutter and the subsequent lack of confidence leads him to adopt a bunch of really safe behavioral patterns. He smiles politely even if he doesn't agree with people, stays quiet a bunch of the time, and generally does everything he can to just fit in. After the school announces the student orgs, where Kabo sees someone pick up a flyer for the dance club, he sees the same girl dancing in front of a school window. Unbeknownst to her, one of Kabo's new basketball buddies recorded her dancing and showed it to Kotani. Later in class, it just so happens that Kabo is sitting next to her. We are introduced to Hikari Wanda, a very cute individual in Kabo's eyes. After sharing some polite conversations and silently nagging himself for even looking at the video that his friend took, Kabo mentions that as he saw Wanda dance, he could not stand the thought of dancing himself because, say it with me everyone, middle school embarrassment. I'm picturing like the wow, like wow. I don't know. I'm so sleepy. Kabo also shared that he felt like everyone was laughing at him back then. And Wanda replied, saying, "It takes a lot of courage to dance in front of other people." After Kabo pops off in another basketball game and getting playfully teased for his stutter by the basketball buddies, Wanda comments that Kabo's actually really freaking good at basketball. And after he blushes for a moment, she explains it in a way that makes sense simply. It looks as though Kabo has a sense of what's happening on the court at all times. Pausing for a moment, Kabo frowns and confesses that he only really plays because his friends invited him, and that the only real reason he pays attention to the whole court is so that he can match everyone else's pace. Even though he is good at basketball, he feels like he's suffocating trying to watch everyone else at all times. So I was like taking a look. Sorry, microphone. I was taking a look at like why I kept this in my script, and I couldn't figure out for a while until it just came back to me, and I realized that like this was literally such a vibe. There have probably been times when we, even though are good at something that we do, don't feel fulfilled doing it, right? Maybe you're masking yourself, trying to present this certain face, and maybe you've gotten so good at that face, and perhaps you do have natural talent in it to the point where that's just what you're good at, but that's not what you want, right? It tires you. Your social battery runs out faster. Anyways, I just wanted to say that's a vibe. Yeah. Also, I have a ponytail right now. I can't show it. How do I? It's this. It goes like woo. So while they're chit-chatting, Kabo just asks Wanda why she dances, like why dance, and she's like, "What are we? Some sort of wand dance?" No, she doesn't actually say that. But she's taken aback by the question for a second, and she pouts really cutely over the answer, and then she says that she likes dancing because you don't have to talk to dance, and that she herself is pretty bad with words. And I guarantee you, there were definitely like stars in this guy's eyes at this point. Like, and in that moment, he understood why he paused to watch Wanda dance, even though he had no perceived interest in dancing at all. It's because he saw her communicating something so clearly, vividly, and wholly without using any words. If you had a stutter for who knows how long, and you've always struggled with saying what you wanted to say, wouldn't it be incredible to have a way to tell people who you are without even saying a word? Like, that's pretty fucking cool. Oh my god, being sick sucks. So, Kabo is just chilling at home, and oh my god, I'm fucking dying. He's thinking about Wanda because he's got a crush. He's got a crazy crush, and he thinks about how everyone in John Scatman's legendary video, the Scatman, had a stutter, and yet they were able to take what was perceived to be a disadvantage into essentially their unique ability. The entire song, if you listen to the lyrics of the Scatman, is very empowering overall, right? He's essentially speaking to anyone who has a stutter and telling them like, yo, like, you're special, dude, and not in the demeaning way. Like, you've got something that other people don't, and that's awesome. While Wanda lives rent-free in his head, he opens the group chat with his basketball buddies to see that his friend posted the video in the entire group chat of Wanda dancing. And of course, you know, high schoolers are being high schoolers. They all make little comments, kind of creepy. And Kabo looks angry. This is where Wand Dance should be called like www on dance. Like, he just takes like countless dubs in this entire journey, and this is one of the big ones that he has coming up. We fast forward to the next day, and Kabo is confronted by his friend, asking him like, yo, bro, like, what the hell? Why didn't you respond? You were the only one that didn't respond. In response, Kabo asks why he even sent it in the first place. His friend tells him that he tried to talk to Wanda for a little bit, but he just got completely iced by her, and this was his way of getting a little get back at her. And Kabo is like, so okay. He's just pissed. He's just angry. He just starts going off on this guy. On this incredibly, like, I'm not gonna lie, he like goes a little extra. He's like a lot here, but just no stutter at all. Tears into him. And the very idea of laughing at other people. Like, what's the point, right? This comes a lot from his personal identity in that he's been teased and laughed at a bunch already. Sure, you can say that's friendly, right? That's like, oh, like, come on, buddy, like, we're just being buddies here, but he's being made fun of. He's being made fun of for who he is. He has a stutter, people pick on it. And he, Kabo, cannot stand the idea of laughing at other people. and then he leaves. Kabo speaks so furiously to the point where his friend deletes the video. Like, he just deletes the video. Real quick note, I want to mention another reason as to why I really enjoy this scene. He doesn't just stand up. Sorry, microphone. God, that was probably really fucking loud. He doesn't just stand up to his friends because he's like, oh, I'm gonna stand up for Wanda-san and like be super nice for her. He literally just says like, bro, if this is the standard that I have to adhere to, I'd rather you just call me weird. I'd rather you just call me weird. I'd rather you just tease me, because he wants to stand on business. He wants to stand by his morals. Now, of course, because it's like chapter 1 of a burgeoning manga, it's nice to like interweave the romance into all of it. It's a nice thing to dovetail, but it's good to remember that he doesn't do this act because he wants the girl. It's because he wants himself, I guess. Okay. Well, you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. Yeah. After destroying his friend with facts and logic, he runs to find Wanda because he knows why he was enamored by her dancing. He was enamored because he saw her saying something so freely, and she's just being herself, and he wants to be that so badly. That's essentially why he stood up to his friend. When he gets to Wanda, winded after running through probably the entire school to try and find her in her usual spot, he sees her starting up her own little sesh. This is one of my favorite parts of the first chapter. You finally get to see a little bit, just a little teaser of Coffee Sensei's, the mangaka's name, of Coffee's art and how he depicts dance. Interestingly enough, for this specific part, he doesn't like put a song name that he wants you to listen to. He usually does that in the later chapters, like Bruno Mars and Michael Jackson, Kendrick Lamar. He just put Kendrick as a song credit in the manga. As we go through, we get to see Wanda just moving. I especially like the difference in line weight for how Coffee depicts motion. Almost looks like there's impacts going off just like mid-air, because that's showing how she's hitting a beat, right? Maybe she freezes on a pose and it looks as though there's just like particles coming off of her. She's holding something in that moment. It's very clear to tell like where the motion is. It reminds me of shonen and fight scenes and how you can always tell like where's the punch, where's the impact. Finally, we arrive at this panel, which I really like, which is just Wanda holding a really cool stance. There's a lot of foreshortening with her foot coming out, just like going up to her hip. She's in a pose, fingers, facial, very determined towards the mirror. It's just really dope. It's really dope. The harsh shadows sort of coming in. It's just like, it's sick. It's sick. I like it. Dude, I have no idea what I have, but I feel terrible. Kabo is just blushing, watching Wanda dance, and she's like, oh, immediately, he doesn't hesitate because my mans does not waste words. He's just like, yo, I want to join the dance club. In a really earnest moment, he shows Wanda the only move that he knows. And initially she's like, what is happening? But Kabo's trying his best. She quickly identifies it as the Running Man and gives Kabo a couple pointers. With a very cute moment, she reaffirms to him that it's okay to keep trying. It's okay to want to do this right now, because the best time to practice something you want to do is now, is the present moment. And again, his eyes are just glittering. To cap it all off, the wind comes in as a paid actor, and Wanda tells Kabo that she finally realized another huge reason why she loves to dance. She feels free. And in that moment, you can, like, I can already see it in the anime, like the wind's gonna come in from one side, like the leaves are just gonna be rustling, his eyes are gonna be sparkling, the music's gonna swell. It's gonna be cinema. It's gonna be cinema. They finish off with like a really cute note about how Wanda has some fun facial expressions, and that is the end of chapter 1.
Girl, move! Show me what y'all know. 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 Girl.
Now we get to talk about one of my favorite decisions that Wandance has decided to bring on, which is a dance consultant, like a dance producer, someone whose whole job is literally just to be a good dancer and tell Studio Madhouse and Cyclone like how to do things. Her name is Rie Hata, and I'm gonna look at my other monitor here and just like list off the incredible resume that she has. And if you ever danced, or if you've like opened YouTube ever, you will probably have heard of many of these names. Okay, we have ATEEZ, Pirate King, has done choreographies with Steezy. 1 Million has taught at the Kinja's dojo, and also recently made a song, well, sorry, not made a song, like choreographed a piece for G-Dragon. Like G-Dragon. So yeah. Now to like step back and be frank, because you know we're friends here. We're friends here. I do have a concern in that Rie Hata, while a phenomenal dancer, skilled, talented, proven choreographer, she is not a breaker. I would not consider her like a popper or a locker, or you know, someone who specializes in those specific styles. Now maybe I'm just not familiar with her game. Maybe like I might just not be familiar with her game. But Wandance, especially in the beginning, has such an emphasis on hip hop first, which that is absolutely her pocket. That is her bag. She owns that bag. If I even approach that bag, she's gonna whap me with it. Okay, like I get that. But when it comes to the scenes around like breaking, hopping, I don't see her having a lot of hands-on experience with those styles. But what I've learned is that if you are good at what you do, you tend to also know other people who are good at similar things to what you do. So Rie probably knows a bunch of breakers and a bunch of poppers and a bunch of lockers and like, you know, animators who could like consult her on how to consult on those specific styles. Okay, like this is very, very important. I think if you're watching this video right now, you get like a certified in before the hype train sort of moment, because I think Wandance is going to be a big hit if the animation / CGI doesn't look bad and they do one thing right. Pause for effect. I think this show has the potential to have countless viral moments. It is literally an entire manga about dance. Like it's literally about dance. And do you remember when like in Dandadan, everyone was going crazy over how Momo was doing her little jiggy, right? It was just like it's literally for 3 seconds of the animation of the OP, and it just went crazy everywhere. Like Wandance, and there's even a panel where the club president is shown to just like be doing TikTok dances. I think they have all the potential to make this happen. They have the source material. They have the focus, which is that this is literally, quite literally, a dance anime and manga. They just need to animate it well, pair it with a catchy beat. I don't know, like bring Creepy Nuts into it. Bring Creepy Nuts. Bring whoever you need to. I think it's going to be a viral hit. And this is another reason why I absolutely adore and respect professional dancers like Rie Hata, because choreos like her and like many choreographers know how to make really good, powerful anchor moments that can go viral. Think of like intricate finger work, Illit and Magnetic, right? Or you could think of, I'm even thinking of, let's say like New Jeans, ETA, right? It's really like wide sweeping dynamic movement, but it's relatively in a vertical, right? So that it can be filmed on TikTok. This, of course, takes nothing away from the skill and the ability of the dance. It is true, however, that these are meant to be very powerful marketing tools, right? The dance and the song coupled together make the appeal. To step outside of choreography, Shay, the choreo behind Back on 74, that's another phenomenal example of like, they have an anchor moment. Like everyone knows the moment where you've got Will going like this, and he's like looking from side to side, and it's just like that sequence of them like walking down the line. It's so peak. But you get it, right? So I think with Rie Hata's experience and everything she's able to bring to the table, I think she's going to be able to choreograph something really, really good here. Especially if they use something really catchy in the OP or the ED. Okay, hello, I'm just crashing with a friend. I moved out of my apartment since the last time that I recorded, so I'm gonna record in my friend's room.
He's got like all this decor. Look at this. Like he's got like shout out my goat. Shout out not my goat. Shout out my goat. He's gonna be so like weirded out. No, he's not gonna be weirded out. But like he's gonna be like, why the hell were you in my room? He'll be fine. It's fine. So I want to talk real quick. Like put you. Okay. Hello. This is really bright. I'm gonna stand here so that the lamp isn't shining in your face. Hello. Let's talk about dance, because as you've noticed, we're not really talking about ballroom or ballet when it comes to this dance, right? We're talking about street dance, which is a very, 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 very broad term given to styles that originate from the streets. And while this video isn't a history lesson, it is good for us to remember that a lot of the styles we talk about are rooted in Black culture and art. And yes, this is Japanese anime and manga, but understanding the roots and like the source material behind wand dance should just make the series more enjoyable. Especially in the early chapters, hip-hop is by far the most prominent example of street style dance in wand dance. The impact of hip-hop itself is crazy worldwide, right? Like just think about the number of Yankees hats that you've seen everywhere, being sold everywhere, being worn by everyone. To quote Buddha Stretch,
That's what you need to keep in mind when you think of hip hop. It's a culture. It's the reason why. Who plays for the New York Yankees? But you got a Yankee hat, right? That's hip hop. Okay? It's the reason he has on a Yankee hat. He doesn't know who plays for the New York Yankees, but he got a Yankee hat. The Yankees didn't make it cool. Hip hop made it cool. Yeah.
there's another really important difference between freestyle dance and other forms of dance that you might be more familiar with, which is that street dance is not choreographed, right? Like Wanda isn't out here like running choreo formations in her head and planning out what textures to add to that specific 8 count that's coming up, because you don't know what music's gonna play. It's improvised. It's freestyle. To use a sentence as an analogy, you learn moves, and those moves are like individual letters. And you take those moves, you put them together, and you make words out of those moves. And then once you add meaning and feeling to those words, you put that together into a sentence, then you start saying something through your movement, as we saw in the chapter 1 synopsis, where Kabo understood, like, whoa, like, she's saying something to me? That's what it means. That's what it means. There's something in the movement that speaks to whoever's watching, and you connect through the music. Freestyling can also be, like, really scary. You're not given any instructions. There's no, like, dichotomous right or wrong. It's spontaneous, and as a result, it is also immensely freeing. What I like to tell my beginner students, at least at the very start, as 2 very safe guardrails, is that guardrail number 1, you have to stay on beat. Guardrail number 2, do not get injured. If I were to continue the bowling analogy, respecting the culture and understanding where the movement comes from is like the driving force behind a bowling swing, right? It's the difference between someone who has like a really deep, like low dipping arc of the ball that generates a lot of momentum and power versus someone who doesn't know the roots of the movement and doesn't understand the context and just like... Most importantly, to hit a strike, I think freestyling shows the majesty of any creative art, which is emotion, which is the feeling, you know, the fact that you get a live view into how that dancer feels in the moment. It's just raw emotion. It might be hype. It might be dread.
I'm sorry for the stupid shit I said. You wouldn't find I served you threats.
It might be love.
Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Give it the funk, that's sweet, funky stuff.
It could be anything, and you can almost taste the iron in your mouth as they just bleed in front of you. Because their heart isn't just like on their sleeve when they're in the zone. They are the heart. They are feeling all of that, and they pump and they beat until they run out of breath. And by feeling so deeply and openly, others tap into that feeling. Others connect to that. That's magic. And I hope that that's magic that they can convey and capture in wand dance, the ecstasy of just growing comfortable with yourself, expressing yourself around other people, finding community, and feeling what other people are feeling. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, let's finish up this video. This is gonna be the last section. It's just gonna be like a bunch of miscellaneous things that I think are worth mentioning for this specific video about like wand dance and the manga as well as the anime adaptation. And the first thing that I want to talk about is actually, goodness, I just flashbanged myself with the screen. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this is going to be airing, at least in the US. I don't know where it's going to be airing like worldwide, but wand dance's anime adaptation is going to be airing on Disney Plus. And I've heard bad things about Disney Plus and it being like a well advertised home for anime. This guy, I'll try to like put the video here, or maybe it'll just live in the description, has a phenomenal video about it. Go watch it. He can talk about it way better than me. It all boils down to me not expecting Disney Plus to do a lot of really good advertising, which again goes back to my prior point in one of the previous sections. I'll recap it here about how I'm really banking on this having a lot of viral moments because I don't know if Disney is going to advertise the fact they're airing wand dance at all. Also, like, dance, street dance is just dance overall. Like, movement is very, very hard to animate, right? There's a reason why you only see breaking in like bits and scraps of animation, and Studio Madhouse alongside Cyclone Graphics have a real doozy on their hands because there is no precedent for like good street dance animation, right? There's like, I'd say there's a precedent for like highly stylized action that just stands the test of time. I'm thinking like Kill la Kill. I'm watching it for the first time right now. Incredible. Like that came out, what, like 2010? It looks phenomenal. That's like, I view that as like a bar, right? When it comes to like fight scenes recently in shonen, I think of the Sukuna versus Maharaga fight, right? Also, I'm sorry if I just spoiled you that fight happens. It happens. I won't tell you how it ends, but it happens. And that's just like, it's peak, right? Like that's a standard, right? But there is no standard for good street dance animation. Of course, we'll be able to tell if it looks good or if it looks bad, but there's no like example for them to pull off of, right? They are building that precedent themselves. Now, with Studio Madhouse's prestige and reputation and experience, I'm sure they're gonna be able to pull off a good direction. You know, a couple of clips that I think we could at least try to model our expectations off of are some like bits of breaking animations that I could find. For example, Samurai Champloo has a couple. Kachina, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Kachina from Genshin, her idol animation, it just has her doing like a little set. It's pretty cute. And Breaker Style by Majima, he also, you know, uses plenty of that. And, you know, like breaking is just in the Yakuza series. If you've played Like a Dragon, you'll also see that there's like a breaker class that you can pick, right? Another concern I have, branded clothing and music. In the wand dance manga, there's Adidas, there's Nike, there's Champion. They even have like a freaking Anchor speaker, okay? Like I could probably buy that exact model off of Amazon. The obvious solution is just like erase them or like replace them with funny similar products. You know, like how Apple like laptops and anime always have like this strange discount version, like a pear with like a bite out of it or something. But you lose a bit of oomph by removing those logos, like Adidas, for example. I'm picking on Adidas in particular because Adidas is intertwined with street culture for the longest time. For example, just look at how Adidas peddles their superstars, right? It says our most iconic designs, instantly recognizable, and streetwear staples across the globe. It leans on the rhetorical levers of being iconic, being recognizable, and associating with streetwear, because that's like hip and cool. Now, of course, replacing all of the logo marks from these big brands is absolutely necessary, because I'm sure Nike is not going to be eager to sign off on an anime just using their logo mark everywhere. But on the other hand, you lose a little bit of that cultural impact from seeing those specific brands, right? So I'm hoping that they have like Adidas, but instead of like the trifoil, it's maybe like like a quad foil. There's also the issue of the music that's being used, because you have some absolute anthems that Coffee Sensei uses in the manga, and they're across genres as well, right? You've got like really good tracks for popping, for breaking,
From illiterate, always seem to get ahead. If you try to step to this, don't even consider it.
for house. And the most difficult thing that the folks over at Madhouse will have to work on, for sound at least, is either licensing a couple of really, really good tracks or creating music that fits the different genres that are in play. And this like slightly dovetails with my concern with Rie Hata being the dance producer. Again, I have no question about her quality as a dancer and a choreographer. However, I do know that she is a hip hop dancer and that she is not a breaker. She's not a popper. She's not a house dancer, right? And different music go with different styles to really sink in the appeal in the first glance, right? Like breakers pair well with breakbeats.
This is football heritage.
House heads dance to house. Poppers listen to a distinct sound. You can't just make a single art direction for the soundtrack. You can't have a single sound. This inherently needs to be multi-genre. And I think there's a lot of potential there for innovation. I think a really good example of this is Lazarus, which at the time of this video is currently airing. I love it. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous anime, not just in terms of the visual direction, but in terms of the musical direction, right? And a big reason for that is because you have three very distinct musical artists making soundtracks for this, right? You have Kamasi Washington, Bonobo, and Floating Points. And together, through their musical talent and their different approaches on sound overall, on music overall, it shapes this beautiful diorama that can accompany and exhilarate and dampen as needed in Lazarus, the atmosphere and all that stuff. I'm just using big words at this point. I feel like, you ever do that? Yeah, it's just like, I just want to use big words. I just want to use big words. I want to use big words. But, you know, those are a couple of primary concerns. Now, in terms of the quality of the studio, we already know the quality of Studio Madhouse, right? Like, they're an established studio. They're just gonna have to get over the issue of copyright when they're adapting Wandance with all of the things that are copyrighted. And now we have finally made it to the end of the video. For real this time, this is like a last catch-all section, because there's a lot of like small notes that I want to bring up, but I couldn't find a section to do it in the video itself. First off, a huge thank you to the entire translation team that helped make Wandance, the manga, available on the web in English. The translator, or at least one of them in particular, also just did a lot of really good research into street dance, and they happened to recommend a video that I also highly recommend, featuring Latasha Barnes in a house dance competition. I've actually learned from Latasha a few times now. She's incredible, so she's awesome. I highly recommend the video. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'd also like to spend a moment to thank my Patreons for helping me make money, which will help me make more and better videos. I would also like to spend a moment to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video. I thought this bit would be funnier, now I'm just sad. There is a reference to MASH from Mashal in chapter 4, and as someone who loves Mashal and has cosplayed as MASH on multiple occasions, I just found this like really fun and cute and current. And then yes, this is actually real. This is not like a weird, quirky translation thing. Mop Top, as in Mop Top Universal, is referenced in Wandance directly through YouTube thumbnails that Coffee just puts in the manga. So clearly he's done his research. And speaking of Coffee Sensei, he also dances. He seems to be a locker by trade, but he says that he can pop as well. And he clearly knows of house hopefully I'm showing a clip here. He's doing loose legs, and I think Japan has an insanely beautiful and vibrant house dance scene, so it's not surprising that house has received a lot of loving treatment in wand dance, and it also doesn't surprise me that he knows some house foundation. Coffee also credits dancers and staff that help him with like dance consultation whenever he can, and it's just nice to see flowers be given when they're deserved. Also, because this section of the video is being made like last, like a few days ago, the Japanese VAs for Kabo and for Wanda have been announced. Earlier in this video, I used clips of Miyamura from Horimiya and Itoshi Rin from Blue Lock, and I didn't know that they had the same VA. And coincidentally, like the VA for Miyamura and Rin is the VA for Kabo. So I'm pumped. In sum, I'd like us to hold cautious optimism for the anime. Wand Dance is alone when it comes to its niche, right? There is no other street dance manga or anime out there, but being alone doesn't mean you're at the top. This is going to be really, really hard to animate, and even though Studio Madhouse has a bunch of prestige and experience, the use of CGI is definitely going to be a big sticking point when the anime actually comes out. I've heard rumors that there's going to be mocap involved in the production of Wand Dance. That'd be really cool. I think it would allow a choreographer and dance producer like Rie Hata to really shine, but I mean, unless we're bringing like Monster Hunter Wilds level of mocap, I just want to make sure it doesn't look stiff, right? So optimistic, grain of salt, like kosher salt. I don't know why people do that. It kind of hurts my wrist. However, if they land the right moments, you know, it's sort of just like how a dancer, if they're in a dance battle, they can turn a good round into a great round if they hit the right beats. So if Wand Dance hits the right beats when it matters, I think it could be plastered all over the internet. I think it could be a hit, and it could be a signal for like this beautiful era of dance anime. You know, get a catchy short form content campaign going on all the socials, choreograph a couple of replayable dances, pair it with an absolute earworm of an ED or an OP, and I think we might be, as the kids say, cooking. Finally, I just want to leave us with a note about why I think we should be excited about this. I think anime so often makes us fall in love with the fantasies, right? The glitzy action scenes, the heart-throbbing romances, the bravery of our favorite heroes being fucking hot. You know, like this is what we're in love with. This is cinema. This is cinema. But I've always looked at dancers and just creatives in general, but since we're talking about Wand Dance in particular, dancers, as having superpowers in their own right. People who can just embody sound, embody feeling. Some of them can like rotate and fly and twist and vibrate in ways that are nearly inconceivable. Like, it seems inhuman, and yet there are humans doing it. They claim permission to feel. They take that for themselves because they know they deserve it. And if anything, I'm hoping that Wand Dance the manga and Wand Dance the anime helps inspire other people to claim that permission. Is that it? Is that the intro? Actually, outro? Oh my god, I'm gonna have to cut that.